Everyone, so this is the story of my Viper and the process I went to buy the car. This is one of two cars along with my 2000 Cobra R I'd always wanted in high school. I had always watched these things, watched pricing on these things. I got fortunate enough when I bought this thing, the prices were pretty much bottomed out at the time. Now they're on quite a bit of a rise, but I got lucky at that time. Around 2011, I started kind of really watching these things pretty aggressively along with my Mustang. Just kind of looking at what an original car looks like, because a lot of these things were modified. What to look for, some of the problem aspects of these cars. There's a couple of little issues you got to look for with this car. Everything from something like the recall stuff, like to things like the condition of the splitter. That's not the splitter, the chin on this car, just because it sits pretty low. I started compiling a list of kind of things to what to look for. I was either going to buy an all-red ACR or blue with white stripes. Now, if I was going to get an ACR, I was going to get an 01, 02 because I wanted the added safety factor of anti-lock brakes, because I knew that the bias wasn't that great on these cars. And I wanted, since I knew I was just going to use it for street use, I wanted the safety factor of it. So obviously there was a lot more white with, blue with white stripes running around. They made quite a few of those. So I just kind of started watching pricing at the time. They seemed to be selling in around the $40,000 range, or in 2011, give or take. So these things were a lot harder to find. The ACRs in general were harder to find, but red ones were really hard to find. So I'm like, all right, I had seen one probably a year before. I think it was an I think it was 2002, red ACR, no stripes, and it had 8,000 miles on it. And he had it listed on Auto Trader, and I don't remember what it sold for, but I want to say it was somewhere in the 40s. So I'd always watch eBay, Auto Trader, Cars.com, all that kind of stuff, just kind of seeing what the cars were selling for, and just comparing pictures to know what an original car was, and just to be better versed in Viper-specific aspects and what to really know. So I wouldn't look like a complete rookie going to look at one. I would say around 2011 or so, one came up for sale. It was a 2002. It was gray. I think it was the, I forget what the exact color, sapphire, not sapphire. I forget what the exact color was for the 2002 gray color. It was down for sale in South Jersey, the dealer. So I'm like, you know what? I haven't seen a Viper ACR in forever. Let me go look at this thing. I haven't seen one in person in a long time because there's so few of them. So I went to look at it. There was a couple of weird things I found on the car that were just more right. I really didn't plan on buying it, but I just wanted to go kind of take a look at it because I hadn't seen one of them up close in a long time. So it was absolutely beautiful. I really love the ACR wheels on this thing. That was one of the things that drew me to it, the fact that it's sort of the next level up from the other Vipers. So I kind of started at that point, knew I was probably going to go for a red ACR over blue with white stripes, just with the ABS. So I'm like, all right, I really like red. This car does red unbelievably well. So let me kind of start watching for these red ACRs. And then I went on the Viper registry, and I found out between 2001 and 2002, red with no stripes, they made like 58. So I'm like, wow, this thing is going to be next to impossible to find one of these, because I want a car that's not modified, not raced, low mileage, as close to stock as possible. I'll take a couple minor upgrades that are easily reversible. So I'm sitting at work one day on my computer, just kind of, it's a quiet day, I'm just kind of looking. Lo and behold, this guy comes up on, I believe it was eBay it came up on. I'm like, holy cow. Wow, look at this car, it's beautiful, it's the mileage I'm looking for. The guy says, I'm looking through the pictures, it looks to be stock, it doesn't look to be beat up or neglected, it looks like it's in really, really nice shape. So I'm like, wow, this is the car. I'm like, and these things are getting harder and harder to find. So I'm like, all right. I had a big list of questions I had kind of put together for if one comes along, what to ask. So I call the guy, leave him a message, he calls me back a little while later. I was home, so I actually had that sheet with me. So I'm like, all right, you got 5-10 minutes to spare? I got a bunch of questions for you. He goes, yeah, no problem. I'm like, you know, going through, you know, how long have you owned the car? What have you done with the car? How do you use it? How's it stored? Is it modified? Has it been crashed? Is anything not original to the car? And as I'm going through it, it's everything I want to hear. And I'm like, oh man, I can't pass this up. I wasn't like gunning to buy a Viper at that point, but I was pretty serious. And I'm like, I can't pass this up. This is almost too good to be true. I'm like, all right, is the car modded? He goes, oh, it's got a exhaust system on it, catback exhaust. I'm like, all right, I can live with that. A catback exhaust is really not a big deal. That can be easily fixed or changed back to original if I ever want to do it. That's just about as simple as it gets. So I'm like, this car is too good to pass up. He's asking really good money because he was looking for a quick sale because he was getting a little cash strapped, the guy. So I'm like, okay, all right. I'm like, what do you realistically want for a car? He gives me a number. I'm like, all right, how about this? You know, I think this is fair. This is what these cars are selling for. And he goes, all right, I'll tell you what. I'll give the car to you for that price if you buy me a nice steak dinner. I'm like, you got it. So we agreed upon a price. I'm like, I got to come down and inspect it. I'm not buying it sight unseen. Which led to the next issue. I'm in central New Jersey. This guy was in Liberty, South Carolina. That's like a 12-hour drive. I'm like, oh man, this is going to be a freaking nightmare. So I found a day off of work. Me and my father jumped in my car, drove down to Liberty, South Carolina. 12-hour drive there. Got there, inspected the car. I had all my cheat sheet notes with me. I went over the car. It had all the aspects that made it an ACR. It was correct. I couldn't find any flaws with the car. And I remembered from doing my research that there is a pocket behind the driver's door in these cars where they put all the original factory paperwork. I'm like, all right, what kind of paperwork you got for this car? He had the window sticker, the keys, really not much else. I'm like, well, where's there all the original paperwork for this thing? He goes, oh, you know, I never had it. I was like, all right. I go behind the driver's seat. It's all there in the original factory shrink wrap with the cardboard backing on it. I pull this thing out. I'm like, you mean this paperwork? His jaw almost hit the floor. He couldn't believe it was back there. And he never looked behind the seat and realized it was back there in the pouch behind the driver's seat. So I have all the original factory paperwork for this car. The ACR tool for adjusting the suspension that's impossible to get or find. I have that. I have all the original warning stuff, the VHS tape, the owner's manuals. It's all crisp and brand new because it was in the original packaging. So he was just super surprised. I later found out that this guy, he had a huge warehouse, and he said he had a bunch of other Vipers. He had sold them already. This was the last one he had left. So it turns out the guy was a famous motorcycle builder, and he was getting really cash strapped because the business wasn't really doing good anymore. He built a lot of choppers. I think the business was called Redneck Engineering or something like that. They were big in the chopper business in the early 2000s when choppers were huge. And the business just kind of started to fade away as they were kind of no longer trendy anymore. So he was looking for a quick sale because I think he owed a lot of money. So I went there, I paid for the car, I gave the guy a bank check. The car was paid for. And now I just needed to get it home. I was going to trailer the car home. Thankfully, I didn't. I was going to rent a U-Haul trailer and just bring it home. Instead, I worked with my neighbor who's a car dealer, and we had a tractor trailer come pick it up. The reason I'm glad I didn't trailer it home is because a couple of weeks later, one of the pieces for the suspension of my pickup truck broke, and had I been towing a trailer, it probably would have broke when I loaded the car because they had stress on it. I can't think of the part where the rear leaf spring suspension attaches to the frame. I can't think of the name of the part right now, but it had rusted because it was old and it had broken. So had I trailered this thing, I probably loaded it up in the trailer, it would have broken. I would have been basically stranded in South Carolina with a broken pickup truck and no way to get it home. We used a different car. We went down there just because we weren't towing, but fortunately that worked out and I didn't do that. So about a week or two later, he's calling me, hey, what's going on with the car? Are you gonna come pick it up? I'm like, yeah, the truck's gonna come in a couple of days and come get it. I'm gonna give the guy your contact information to he can call you directly and come pick up the car, coordinate with you. So the truck shows up a few days later, they load the car, and as the truck is pulling away, the guy flags him back down again. He's like, I got a motorcycle that I got to drop off in New Jersey. I was going to do it. you're going there, I'll just pay you to drop it off. They had to unload the car to put the motorcycle in. This was a tractor trailer, a full-size tractor trailer, and put the motorcycle in first, and then they had to load this car back up again. So they were a little bit late getting on the road. Now, tractor trailer driver calls me, you know, because it's a big truck. I lived in a neighborhood. He's like, look, I can't bring this thing in the neighborhood. This truck is too big. It ain't going to fit. I'm like, all right, there's this really long stretch in my neighborhood. There's really no houses on this one stretch of road. We'll park you there. Now, I'm supposed to go to work, and this guy's supposed to be here at like 4 o'clock. I was supposed to go to work at like 7 or something. The guy's like, yeah, I'm going to be a few hours late. I was late getting out. I had to drop this guy's motorcycle off first because I passed the place where it was going first. And now I got to bring it. Now I got to bring your car to you. So I'm like, all right, that's fine. So I'm calling my job. I called one of the guys I work with. They were supposed to leave at 7 when I was going to come in. And I'm like, dude, can you cover me for a few hours? I got something going on. I didn't tell anybody at work I was buying this thing. I didn't want to kind of let the cat out of the bag till it was done. Because everybody I'm working was like, oh, you're never going to buy a Dodge Viper. You're nuts. Those things are expensive. They're crazy. I was like, okay. I was able to I got a Carfax done through work. And one guy saw the Carfax. For some weird reason, my job to get Carfaxes for free. I don't know why. So I got one done. And then I had my neighbor run one through another one. And then the Carfax came up fine, no issues, no problems. That came up on the Carfax. And one of the guys I work with saw the Carfax and he goes, are you buying one of these things? I'm like, no, I'm investigating it. Let's just say that. So I'm like, dude, can you cover for me? He goes, well, what's going on? I'm like, trust me, just cover for me for a couple hours. I'll make it up to you. Don't worry. So he stayed for a few hours. The truck finally showed up at like 8:30 that night. I think it showed up. And at that point, there's this huge car trailer there. It was an enclosed car trailer. You know, it had a couple other sports. I think it was a Ferrari in there and some other stuff. And all the neighbors kind of start coming out, and they're like, "Oh, what's going on? This huge truck!" And the back opens up big, and this thing's basically hanging out the back because it was the last car inside. So everybody's looking at what's going on. The guy starts setting up the ramps because it wasn't one of the ones with an elevator on it. The back kind of came up, and then he had to attach all the ramps to drive it down. So he's getting ready to do it. He forgot to unstrap one of the wheels. He had to get back out of the car and do it. And like all the neighbors are coming out. There's a couple blocks away from my house. Everybody's like, what's going on? So this thing backs out and it was like, whoa, that's crazy, that's crazy. Now my neighbors knew I was getting this and they had some friends over and stuff. So I get the car out, I sign the paperwork, I inspect it. There's no damage on the car from what I can tell. It was all, a couple little, those guys are really, really picky. Obviously they have to be. I think you noticed like a little scuff on the wheel or something. There's a couple stupid items, but no condition issues. I went over the car very carefully with my father. We didn't find anything that was wrong with it that the guy had done to it, so signed off on it. Here's your money. Thanks for coming. Now I gave the guy a bottle of water because this guy drove all over the country. So I got in the car, I drove over to my house, and all my neighbors are out there waving and clapping as I pull up. So it was a cool experience getting it, and just to have that cool car. Finally had a really, really exotic car, so put it in the garage, and I went to work. I got to work finally around 9 o'clock. It was like, oh man, what's going on, what's going on? Guys, people kind of started piecing together I was up to something. So I went up to one of the people I work with at work. It was sitting at their desk, and I walked up to them. I had the Viper key. It was one of the Viper keys with a Viper symbol on the key, and it said Viper on it with the Viper key fob. I walked up to him. I looked at him, I smiled, I put the key on the desk next to him. I was like, weren't you saying I was never going to get a Viper? And he looked at the key and he's looking at me smile. He goes, oh, congrats, man. He goes, congrats, I'm impressed, you did it. So a couple weeks later, I brought the car to work after I got it all nice and cleaned up. Nice coat of wax, got it really washed, polished, and everybody kind of checked it out. So it was a cool experience to get the car. It was a long drive. I think it took there and back with stops, I think it took 30 hours, give or take, from the time I left my house to the time I got back. We had to sleep on the side of the highway in a rest stop because it was just such a long trip. We kind of rotated and driving back and forth just to kind of save some time. So it was a long ride. It was a little rough, but it was well worth it. This car's been a great car. It's beautiful. As I've learned more Viper stuff as stuff's gone on, this car has been so true, so original, all original, everything. I've learned even more about this car owning it. A couple of little Viper issues I've had with this car that I've dealt with that pretty much every Viper owner has had to deal with at one point, but the car's been great. It's a good, honest, original, low mileage car, and I'm really glad I bought it when I did because the prices on these things within the last couple of years have been going up at a very steady pace. From between the auction prices and some eBay sales, the blue with the white stripe, the 96, 97 GTSs, and these ACRs are on one heck of a tear. And they've been going up at a pretty steady pace, so I think I definitely did good. I bought this car at a very good price. I got really lucky with that. And I'll probably do pretty good eventually one day when I go to sell this thing. So I hope you enjoyed. That's the story of my my Viper and the original owner of the car. I don't know where he is now or what he's doing, but he didn't drive, just like me, he didn't drive the car much. He just had a nice car collection, and he just enjoyed the car for what it was, never modified it or raced it. And he just kind of just drove it around town and enjoyed it for the piece of artwork that it is, the same way I do, and just not beat or damage the car in any way, but just enjoy the car for what it was meant to be, a really nice high-performance street car. And now it's in my hands, and I'm probably going to hold on to this car for a little bit and just enjoy it for what it is. So I hope you enjoyed the story of my Viper and what I had to do to get it. So thanks for watching.